Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Chiron, square, opposition, or inconjunct one's natal Chiron. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Chiron, they can be about physical and emotional wounds and suffering, depleted self-worth and self-esteem, and also helping and healing others. Now, when you have a transit Chiron, basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Chiron, well, first I'm going to be kind and rewind and elaborate. When I say basically adverse aspect, okay, squares and oppositions, of course, those aspects in astrology are negative and adverse. However, the inconjunct aspect is neutral, but a neutral aspect can have good and bad qualities, and coupled with the fact that an inconjunct can often require an adjustment or a transition. So basically, collectively, I do see this as an adverse transit. Now, anyway, when transit Chiron basically makes an adverse aspect to one's natal Chiron, well, it may manifest in physical and emotional wounds and suffering, depleted self-worth and self-esteem, and helping and healing others. These things may actually conflict with actual physical and emotional wounds you may be currently dealing with. You could be a situation where, if you're dealing with, physical issue, maybe there is a physical condition that might be exacerbating and existing. It was something I saw online one time. I forgot precisely what it was, but say if you have, for example, Pisces and Virgo involved in an opposition with this transit, it was something with the feet. It was something with the toes of the feet can be like interconnected with something Virgo related, like the spleen, or something. But you can look that up online, and you'll see what I'm, talking about. I forgot what the exact condition was, but it's something where the toes of the feet can be connected. Problems with those can be connected, or one of those things, or both, can be connected with the Virgo type of, illness, debilitation. Now, another thing is that really at this time, considering that Chiron is about depleted self-worth and self-esteem, those things might be causing some issues. It might be exacerbating existing emotional wounds and suffering. It might be maybe you don't have that confidence, and the lack of your feeling about yourself, confidence in yourself to be able to cope or contend with physical and emotional suffering at this point in time. Now it's interesting when you have the transit of an asteroid, you're making, or just an astrological energy in general, making an aspect to your natal astrological energy that is the same with the transit, transiting astrological energy. I mean, in this case, you're talking about depleted self-worth and self-esteem, transit Chiron, and Chiron, your natal Chiron placement is connected to that as well. Maybe at this time it could be worse. Something might be happening to the transit that might be diminishing your self-worth and self-esteem. It might be making any kind of depleted self-worth that's actually existing, might make it worse at this time. And also to keep in mind that Chiron is about helping and healing others. Remember, Chiron is the wounded healer. It reflects how we help others in ways in which we are unable to help ourselves. It's where we feel ineptitude, but we can actually help others in that manner in which we can't help ourselves. And when you have this transit, I mean, you're talking about you could be torn, maybe between helping and healing, one party or someone, and then trying to do something for another person. You might be where you're inundated at this time with trying to help and heal others at this time. You might be helping one person, cope with some kind of loss, such as a death, say the transit Chiron was in the eighth house, or an and or Scorpio. And it might be, for in that example, you could be trying to help somebody cope with a death. But let's say that the transit Chiron is in Scorpio and your natal Chiron is in Taurus. Again, Maybe you're trying to help someone cope with a death or some insurance matter or tax related issue, or trying to resurrect something such as a business. But then you have, it's opposing the natal Chiron in Taurus, and you might be just trying to help somebody deal with issues regarding just peace and stability. The transit Chiron in Scorpio can be about helping somebody deal with a crisis. Natal Chiron in Taurus might be something where you're just trying to help somebody find, trying to have peace and stability in their life, generate their own income, things of that nature, show persistence, calmness in matters. Another thing too is Chiron again is connected with where we might feel inept in, where it would be associated with ineptitude and weakness, at least an area where we might feel very inept in. And the thing about this is, this could be something where you might feel, there might be something going on through this transit that might be, exacerbating what you feel as far as your own ineptitude. In other words, like it could be, if you were feeling inept already in some area, when you're dealing with transit of Chiron, again, basically making an adverse aspect to your natal Chiron, it might exacerbate that feeling. It could be also, in some cases, emotional wounds. It's been stated, I believe they can sometimes exacerbate something of physical nature. So if you're dealing with something of physical nature, and say you're going through some kind of worrying at this time, upsetment, perhaps it could be doing something that might be causing and making it harder to deal with the physical related matter, or maybe perhaps exacerbating it and making it worse. Chiron is also connected with the pain that runs deepest. And the thing about it is, perhaps you're trying to do something as far as helping and healing somebody, trying to assist somebody in some way, shape, or form. But you're also at the same time, you're trying to cope with the pain in you that has hurt you the most, that really runs the deepest. I have my natal Chiron is in Aries in the 12th house, and this is something where my pain that runs deepest then could manifest in just the lack of aggression, assertiveness, the initiative. Might be tied into secret sorrows, or perhaps not having the courage and fortitude, which is Aries, to combat and confront hidden adversaries, which is the 12th house, people that may have been posing as friends but were secretly, they were really hidden enemies, as some examples. And also too, and the thing is, you could be trying to help and heal somebody, but if you're still trying to cope with your own pain and suffering, your pain that runs deepest, it can be difficult, of course. Now, Chiron, I would say, is connected with the key, trying to find the key. The symbol of Chiron is the key. So I would think that Chiron is like the key, figuratively speaking. And it could be, if you're going through certain suffering at this time, maybe you're having trouble finding that. What is the key to you? Maybe resolving, some other kind of suffering at this time. This Chiron, this transit, obviously, is not, I would say this is the best transit to have, because you're talking again about, if Chiron is connected with emotional and physical suffering, and you have that transit making basically an adverse aspect to your own natal Chiron, which represents the same thing, physical and emotional suffering. So anyway, at the time of this transit, it may be difficult to help and heal others due to it could be physical and emotional wounds and suffering. Now let's say that the natal Chiron is in Cancer in the 7th house as an example. It could be dealing with a moody or temperamental or overly clingy, which is Cancer. It could be a significant other, which is the 7th house. Now also too, physical and emotional wounds may make it more difficult, and physical emotional wounds connected with Chiron may make it more difficult to deal with issues of depleted self-worth and self-esteem. Of course, that's Chiron. Again, hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now let's say, for example, the natal Chiron is in Capricorn in the second house as an example. It could be dealing with some limitations or despondency, which is Capricorn, in connection with monetary situation, your possessions, your resources, which is the second house. Now, also, to another way this transit may manifest, it could be about depleted self-worth and self-esteem, may adversely affect you helping and healing others at this time. Now, let's say if the natal Chiron is in Scorpio in the 11th house as an example, it could be dealing simply with the death, which is Scorpio, of a friend, which is the 11th house. If it's Virgo, in the 5th house is another example. It could be dealing with a judgmental or critical, which is Virgo. It could be a lover or child, which is the 5th house. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.